Okay, everybody. Well, I think we'll start now, 1 o'clock. So, my name is Evelyn. I'm from the membership team, Engineers Ireland, and today we're going to be doing an introduction to Engineers Ireland, why become a member. So, we're going to talk you through the benefits of membership. I'll talk you through the process on how you join. And then we've also been asked just to spend a little bit of time going through preparing your report for Chartered Engineer. So this will be the first in a series of events, and you'll receive notification of these through email alerts. And also there will be a recording available on our Engineers TV also. So during this presentation, I'm going to work my way through the slides, but I am going to suggest that you send through questions if there's anything jumping out. So you can email engineerswebcast@gmail.com, and I'll be able to see your questions coming in, and I'll do my best to answer those questions. If after the session you have a question, you can email membership@engineersireland.ie. So we'll kick off. So who are we? Engineers Ireland, we're the professional body, and we're representing across the board all disciplines of engineers. So you'll see that reflected in our membership benefits, in particular how you join Engineers Ireland. We represent from civil, structural, mechanical, chemical, biomechanical, from student members all the way up to our fellows and to our retired members. So we have about 23,500 members. Our main responsibilities, and this is what you would mainly know us for, is accrediting qualifications. So we go out, our accreditation team will go out, meet with colleges, meet with lecturers, meet with the students, and accredit certificate, diploma, degree courses, master programs, and accredit them for a certain level, usually setting out a career path for the graduate of that course to progress to a registered title. The most commonly known one would be Chartered Engineer. There's also the Associate Engineer and Engineering Technician. Other responsibilities: maintaining the standards of the profession. So we're the sole body in Ireland that can award the registered title of a Chartered Engineer. And our main responsibility here is to oversee that process of awarding the title of Chartered Engineer. So we set in place the report structure that you need to submit, align you with an interviewer, set the competencies, and basically oversee that process of awarding the Chartered Engineer title. We then have partnerships in place, so partnerships in place with the colleges, with employers, through our employer accreditation standard scheme, where we go out and we meet with employers and accredit the training structures that are in place for engineers in those organisations. So I'm going to work through a few other benefits as we go through this presentation. For now, how do you join? So when you come to Engineers Ireland and you're asking us, how do I become a member of Engineers Ireland? Typically what we're going to do is we're going to ask you what your qualification is in. So where did you study? How many years engineering experience do you have? And then we'll be able to advise you on the most suitable route to membership. Membership is broken down into 3 sections. So you have either your student membership, and this is what you'll have while you're studying a full-time course in college. If you graduate from a certificate or a trade qualification, you're generally then granted technician membership, or Tech IAI. And then if you graduate from an accredited qualification, you're generally granted member MIEI membership. And that's usually somebody with a level 7, a level 8, or a level 9 qualification. So that's your membership. The differentiation comes in when you apply for a registered title, and a registered title is you presenting your skills or your competencies that you've gained since you've graduated. So you're actually putting the engineering principles that you learned from your course into practice, and now you're presenting those skills and you're asking them to be assessed and see if you can use a registered title. And the registered titles that Engineers Ireland offers are Engineering Technician, and that's generally for somebody with a certificate qualification and maybe 3 years experience. You can apply for associate engineer, and that's generally somebody with maybe a level 7 or an ordinary degree, maybe 3 to 4 years experience. They'll apply for associate engineer. And then somebody with an honours degree or an honours master's in engineering qualification and a minimum of 4 years experience, they'll usually progress to chartered engineer. So that's just a rough rule of how our membership is made up. What we usually suggest to people at this stage is, so where do I fit? We'd usually suggest that you get in touch with the membership team and we'll advise you on your eligibility, what's the best route to membership for you. Is your course accredited? It's not accredited. I want to gain membership on the basis of my year's experience. We'll be able to advise you of that. But for a quick check, you can go onto our website and have a look at our courses that Engineers Ireland have accredited. So on our website, we give a list of all courses that we have accredited. If you've graduated from outside of Ireland, we'll need to check with the relevant professional body from that country that you've graduated from and see how they've accredited that course and if Engineers Ireland recognises it. So when you do decide to join, if you hold an accredited qualification, so a professional body has accredited your qualification, you submit an application form, proof of your qualification, so we need to either see your original parchments or we need to get a letter from your college or certified copies, and we need your membership fees. And your membership fees start at €60 for job seekers, people who are studying, postgrads, retired, up to €265 or €295. It depends on what grade or what membership type you're applying for. But please do just let us know your circumstances, as we do have various fee structures available. If you're applying with an unaccredited qualification, so you know that your course is new, so it's just recently been put together or designed by your college, so they haven't applied for accreditation, or you've come from a trade background, or you've come from a science background, but you are working in an engineering field, how do you apply for membership? Well, Engineers Ireland, we've set up a number of routes. We call them our routes to membership. So we have section 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. And what you need to do is see where you fit into these routes to membership. So for example, if you have an unaccredited engineering qualification, which is very common, maybe your course is new, you can apply through section 5, and we'll ask you just for a diploma supplement and a supporter to support your application. So we're just asking you for some additional information because the course is listed as unaccredited. The other most common route to membership would be you don't hold, section 9, you don't hold a formal qualification, but you do have significant experience within an engineering role. So how do you gain membership? We're going to ask you for additional information on any training you've received, but also a description of that engineering experience that you've developed, and that you'll do that through applying through section 9. What I'd suggest, if you do fall into any of these categories, do get in touch with the membership team, so you can email membership@engineersireland.ie, and we'll be able to advise you on the most relevant route or most suitable route for you to apply. When you become a member, you'll be given your membership card and your membership certificate, and this will then give you access to the member's profile. And so you can log in and you're given access to the member's profile or the member section of our website. This is where you start tailoring your membership, what sort of notifications you want to receive from Engineers Ireland, what sort of groups you want to be affiliated with, and also what details you want to appear on the public register of engineers through Engineers Ireland. What you start to do then is you affiliate yourself with our groups or our regions. So these are our regions, divisions and societies, and these are groups of people, groups of members who fall under the wing of Engineers Ireland. They're representative of Engineers Ireland, and they arrange or organise events on behalf of Engineers Ireland within areas of interest to you. So you decide what evening lectures, events or site visits you think are relevant to yourself, and you subscribe to their notifications. It is important that you do need to subscribe to this. So you can see here on the screen, we've just shown you how you can actually just input your details, your email address, and subscribe to these to receive notifications of these events. I'll mention this in a bit more detail, but it is important to realize that if you attend these events or volunteer, participate, this all counts as continuous professional development. You'll also get your notifications to our latest news, our updates, what sort of events are coming up. So you need to subscribe to this. You'll have access to our members' journals, or our engineers' journal, and this is available on our website. It's important to note that this is a members-led journal, so we're always looking for suggestions from our members as to what topics are of interest. So please do give us some feedback about that. It's broken down into disciplines, so you can search backdated articles and read those and log those as structured reading for your continuous professional development. We are, of course, always interested in hearing from our members and suggested topics, and we'd also welcome the opportunity for you to submit an article to us with the view of maybe including it in our journal. And the time you spend preparing that article or that topic, you log that for your continuous professional development. So just get in touch with our editorial team. We also have our various social media, so our LinkedIn, our Twitter, and our Facebook accounts. You're going to get a lot of alerts from us on our Twitter account. A lot of people will use our LinkedIn if they're preparing for their practice reports for Chartered Engineer. They're just looking for a discussion on content, what sort of depth should you go into. It's a useful tool to use our LinkedIn. You're using our Engineers TV at the moment, so you'll have access to our Engineers TV. You'll receive notifications of those events. Viewing these events, whether you're watching them live or watching them as a recording, this all acts as continuous professional development. So the time you spend watching these events, you log that time as CPD. You'll also then have access through our members area to EBSCO. Some of you might be familiar with this. This is an online journal publication database. So you may have used this while you were studying in college. A lot of the larger universities will use this. You can carry out a search for papers or publications on maybe topics that you're researching, and this is a free subscription that you can avail of as a member of Engineers Ireland. We also then have our training calendar, so you have access as a member to attend our free evening events. Our CPD training calendar is our more structured continuous professional development training that we've put together based on a survey that we carry out every year with our members. What sort of training would you like to see on our calendar? What sort of classes would you like us to put together? And all these training activities and events are linked into our match up to our registered titles. So you see here on the screen, one of the topics there is corporate governance, and this will help you develop C3 or competence 3, which is your leadership, technical and commercial and managerial competence. And these are the competencies that are required if you're submitting a report for a registered title such as Chartered Engineer. So it's not that by completing these courses, you automatically meet these competence criteria. It's more that it's giving you the tools to develop these competencies. For example, also we have one particular course, it's quite popular, a 4-day project management course, and this is carried out in partnership with the Project Management Institute. This is a 4-day course. It's an intro to project management. A lot of people will do this as their introduction to project management, and to help them go on to do the project management exams, the PMP exam. We also have our e-learning. So there are a number of courses that are free to our members, so they're complimentary. You just need to contact our CPD team, and you'll need a username and a password. And these are courses, online courses or online reading and activities that you can do in your own time, and they're helping you again develop certain competencies of the engineer. And then there's other courses that are available to purchase. The one advantage of these courses is if you download them, you're given a user for I think it lasts up to 60 days. And say, for example, one of the complimentary topics is managing from within the team. You can download that, complete the activity over perhaps a 2-hour period. You still have access to that material in 20 days' time. You can go back in and do a refresher, and that time you can log that again as CPD. So it's peer assessed. It's a unique type of CPD, but again, it just gives you access to certain topics that maybe aren't available to you through very structured training courses. We also have our seminars. So these are, again, member-led. So the topics that are put forward for our seminars are usually, they're suggested by our members. There's topics that are current within the industry. So we're always looking for feedback from our members as to what sort of topics we should perhaps approach speakers and put together a half-day or a 2-hour or a full-day seminar. And this all counts as your CPD. We also have our Future Professional program. So this is a certificate and a diploma program, and this is accredited by DIT. And really, the way we describe this is it's a full program helping you as a professional develop certain competencies. Again, this is in line with the competencies for the chartered engineer. So it's a package program helping you develop key competencies and skills that you require while working in the industry. We have our expert training. So one that I'll mention here, so we have mentoring, so we can provide training in-house to organizations for preparing for mentoring. And we also do in-house training where we'll come out and meet with yourself and a number of your peers and help you get ready for preparing for your practice report and for your interview for chartered engineer. So if these are of interest, make sure you email membership@engineersireland.ie. Some of you might be familiar with them already. We'll hold lunchtime sessions within your organisation and give advice on preparing for your practice report or advice on preparing for your interview. So please just keep in touch with us on that. We have our STEPS program. This is where you get the opportunity to volunteer with Engineers Ireland and promote engineering and science as a career option. It's a fun activity. It's going out to secondary schools and promoting your career and your choice as an engineer and why you think they should make that choice also. So it's a bit of fun. You'll get training from Engineers Ireland as well, or from our STEPS team. We have our Excellence Awards. These are our annual awards. It's recognition that you've done very, very well, in particular with the Chartered Engineer of the Year award. We get perhaps about 500 applications per year for Chartered Engineer. There's a panel of 4 or 5 finalists put together to get to go on and achieve the Chartered Engineer of the Year award. We have our members directory. So once you become a member of Engineers Ireland, you go on to our register, and members of the public can search to see if you're a current member and what's your status with Engineers Ireland. And then also we have our group schemes. So you do need to subscribe to this. You go into our members area and set up your email account to get notifications of various discount schemes. And then we have our Refer a Friend scheme. So if you're referring one of your colleagues, make sure that you add them in as a Refer a Friend, and you have the opportunity to get a one-for-all voucher, a perfect card voucher, which is basically a credit card to the value of €100. Okay, so that's just the first half, just giving you a quick introduction to Engineers Ireland. So if you have any questions at the moment, fire ahead. The email is engineerswebcast@gmail.com. So just take a moment and see if there's any emails coming through. Okay, so now the people who are signing up have also requested that we just spend a bit of time going through preparing for Chartered Engineer. So I'm going to give you some tips. So we won't go into as much detail as we would in some of our information sessions, but I'm just going to give you some tips on preparing. The next deadline is the last Friday in January for the Chartered Engineer report. So they're assessed 2 deadlines per year, the last Friday in January and the last Friday in June. So why apply for Chartered Engineer? Why would you become a Chartered Engineer? It really varies for every individual. Each person has their own sort of motivation as to why they'd apply. Most people would say that it's recognition, it's status, it's a benchmark. I've been working in the industry for 10 years now, I want that recognition. So it does vary, but what you're doing is you're presenting your competencies, you're presenting your experience since you graduated, and you're asking your peers, so 2 chartered engineers or 3 chartered engineers from your discipline, to review your competencies and interview you and decide if they can give you that seal of approval and that badge of excellence, and whether you can use that chartered engineer title. Most people would say then that this in turn enhances opportunities, so you can include it on your CV, can include it when you're applying for any career progression, or really just as recognition or status. I've been working in the industry for 8 years now, and look, I'm a chartered engineer, I have this legally protected title. You're also taking responsibility from your work, and you're going to see that when I talk about the content of the report, and international recognition. So you can travel with your chartered engineer title. So we have a number of international agreements in place. That means that you can transfer your title across to other professional bodies. And if you have any questions about that, just get in touch with us about the international agreements. So how do I know if I'm eligible to apply for chartered engineer? This is the most common question that we get every day. How do I know? It really depends on your makeup. So what have you studied, and how long have you been working in the industry, and what have you been doing while you've been working in the industry? So a lot of people would describe it as it's self-evaluated. So provided you have the accredited honours degree or the accredited master's, so that's a qualification that's accredited under what's called the Washington Accord. So the Washington Accord is like a group or a standard of accreditation for engineering degrees and master programs. And if your course is accredited under the Washington Accord, it means that you're eligible to apply for chartered engineer. So how do I know if I'm eligible? You have either that 4-year degree or 5-year master's, and you have a number of years experience developing your initial professional development. And your initial professional development, so that's your years post-grad experience, so it can range from 3 to 4 to 10 to 15 years post-grad experience, but it's up to you to ensure that in those years experience you're developing the 5 competencies of the chartered engineer. Okay, so in order to determine if you're eligible, you need to make sure that you have that qualification, the degree or the master's, and that you have that right experience to outline in your practice report. The competencies are your engineering knowledge, your application of engineering knowledge, your communication skills, your leadership, and your ethical practice. Okay? So what I'd always suggest to people is after watching a session like this, and if you're uncertain if you're eligible to apply, I would suggest that you download the regulations and start reading the competencies for chartered engineer. We give examples on how you can demonstrate those competencies. So I'd suggest you match up your experience with those competencies and determine if you have enough examples. So these are the regulations. So this is what we don't give out hard copies of this. It's available to download from our website. So our regulations are divided into phase 1 and phase 2 for chartered engineer. Phase 1 is your educational formation. So common question again we get is, do I have the educational standard? Do I have the accredited course? Of course, that's what we're going to advise you on. If you're uncertain, you can just contact membership@engineersireland.ie, or you can give us a call at the head office, and you whether you meet the requirements for phase 1. Typically, people who don't meet the requirements for phase 1 are people who have graduated from an honours degree within Ireland, graduation date post 2013. So a master's requirement kicks in for people who graduated post 2013, or we see people very commonly with maybe an unaccredited engineering degree, or they have a diploma or a level 7 qualification, engineering qualification, but they have significant experience. How do they get to chartered engineer? And you're still in phase 1 if that's where you're at. Phase 2 is you've met the educational requirements, or you've submitted an additional report for assessment, and now you're putting together the competencies and giving the examples. I'm just going to go through phase 1 a little bit more and just give you a few more examples. Phase 1, so there's 3 different types of applications that fall under phase 1. If you have an accredited honours degree and with a graduation date post 2012, so the master's requirement has kicked in for you. We see a lot of people with an unaccredited master's. So a lot of the colleges have designed master programs, but they're not necessarily accredited yet. You need to submit an additional report under phase 1 assessment route A before you can progress to phase 2 and submit your practice report. So if you have any questions on that, you need to get in touch with the membership team. Most common one that we see then is somebody with an accredited honours degree, graduation date post 2012, and somebody who hasn't done the masters. So a lot of people made the decision, I don't want to do the masters, I don't have the money, I've been offered the job. So they've graduated from their degree, but they know the masters requirement has kicked in for them. So how do they apply? You're asked to submit proof of your further learning. So how you have developed these 3 criteria: your design, broadening of expertise, commercial awareness. And you're asked to submit this proof of how, since you graduated from your honours degree, you've developed these criteria. And typically we see people doing this over a 3-year period. That depends on the job, what you've been working in since you graduated. You submit this report. We'll call you in for an interview, and the interview will be carried out by an industry professional and an academic. Basically, you're showing that through industry experience, you've bridged the gap from a BEng honours up to a master's or a level 9, which is a level 9 is now the requirement for a master's. Okay, that's all I'll say on that topic for the moment. If you have any questions on it, I really would suggest that you contact membership@engineersireland.ie, and we'll be able to guide you through the process based on your profile. Then the other most common type of application that we see, so somebody who has an unaccredited qualification or who wants to apply for chartered, they know they have the experience, but they just don't have the accredited qualification. So we see a lot of people maybe with 12, 15 years experience, they've over a longer period have developed the competencies of the chartered engineer, but according to our regulations, they don't have that qualification. So how do you apply? This is phase 1, it's called experiential learning. Some of you might have heard it described over in the UK, they describe it as the mature route, or it's an assessment route. We call it experiential learning, which means that on the job, you're developing the skills of a chartered engineer. So you're going to present a report showing how you've developed those skills. How do you do this? Every month our membership board meet. So our membership board is made up of industry professionals and academics. You can submit an initial assessment, which is 1,400 words, showing how you meet these 7 criteria down the side here. So your knowledge, problem solving, design, research, ethics, teamwork and communication. 1,400 words. Our membership board will review this and then advise you how you can progress to chartered engineer. Most likely what you'll be asked to do is an experiential learning report, which you'll then be called for an interview. Okay, if any of you have any questions about experiential learning, so you know your course is unaccredited, or maybe your course is accredited for associate engineer, how do I apply? Be sure just to contact membership@engineersireland.ie, or you can give us a call and we'll be happy to help. So just bear with me a moment. I see there's one question coming through. Okay, so somebody is just asking about phase 1 assessment route B criteria. So I've covered most of that, the detail that I'm going to go through for now. So what I'd suggest, the person who's asking this question about phase 1 assessment route B, I'd suggest we can arrange a phone call with you and go through those criteria. What we've actually done, so just to go back, just addressing this question, he's asking specifically about phase 1 assessment route B. A lot of people are asking for examples. So what sort of experience should I describe in order to demonstrate design, broadening of expertise and commercial awareness? The board who assesses these reports have done up some lovely guidance notes and tips on how what sort of experience you should be showing to demonstrate these criteria. So make sure you get those from the membership team. We'll be able to circulate them. They're not on our website. We only distribute them to people who ask for it, just to avoid confusion for people who are submitting these reports. Okay, so hopefully, Richard, I've answered your question. If not, you can give me a call and I can go into a bit more detail with you. So phase 2, so you've received go ahead and you can go on. You've progressed from phase 1 and now you're going on to phase 2. What do you need to do? There's 2 deadlines, last Friday in January and the last Friday in June. You submit an online application, and I always suggest after a session like this, make sure that you download this online application and start familiarizing yourself with the content and the headings. You're asked for 5 500-word competence statements. You're asked for a 2,000-word career summary report. You're asked for a breakdown of your CPD, 2 topic essays, supporters, so 2 supporters, and a 1-hour interview. And it's important to note that you do need to be a member for a minimum of 3 months before submitting this report. So just get in touch with us and make sure that you're eligible to submit under phase 2 before getting the report together. So your application, as I said, it's self-explanatory. Just download that application from our website. There is a sample we can download. We don't have content in it, but you can just see the format of it. And we're looking for your personal details, educational details, and area of expertise. We'll ask you for a declaration. So this is truthful. This is a screen grab of the actual application. So as you can see, it's self-explanatory. You fill in your details. We also ask for your areas of expertise. So this is where you're asked to identify your areas of expertise, and this is to help the membership team match you up with the right assessors and interview panels. Okay, so I've just given you a screen grab of one category there that you can choose from. Think of this, think of these options as a way it's useful for the membership team to get you the right interviewers. So it's purely for administration or for our processing purposes to make sure that we can line you up with the right interviewer efficiently. Now don't worry if it's the case that we send a report over to an interviewer, potentially lining them up to interview you, and they feel that they're not the right person to interview you. They will flag that with us. And they will say to us, I'm not the right person for the interview, but this is just processing. It's help us with administration to line you up with the right interviewers. You're asked to give 5 500-word competence statements. So after a session like this, I always suggest to people start looking at your experience and lining up over the years your experience and what sort of examples you're going to give to demonstrate each competence. So you're given 500 words for each competence, and you need to write these in first person singular. So this is a very different style of report For engineers, you're not using the we, you're not talking about the company, you're talking about yourself, the individual, and your personal responsibility. So you need to write the sentence in first person singular and take ownership over that activity. So it's just your involvement, your action that you're describing. So this is a screen grab of the actual application, and what we've done for for Competence 1, we've given you a number of trigger questions that will help you get out the right information and how to compile it into those 500 words. A lot of people will say that it's difficult to get these 500-word statements summarized and compact enough to get it into the report. We'd suggest mapping out your experience, mapping out your examples before you start typing, because you see people who are applying for chartered with 4 years experience, 10 years experience, 30 years experience, but everybody has to put the report into the same format and use the same word count. So it's important to plan out your report before you start typing. You're limited with your word count, but don't forget, if you need to expand, you can do that when you go in for interview. So you can develop the topic more when you go in for interview. You're also then asked for your career summary. So this is the 2,000-word report, and this is how you're basically showing those competence statements and putting them into context, and you're breaking down your career in chronological order. So 2,000 words, again, it's not that long. It's up to you to map out your career and look at the weighting that you're going to allocate to those 2,000 words and to each stage in your career. And really what you're trying to do is put those projects that you've worked on into context in this career summary. So you're giving the size, the value of the project, and in particular, your input. So a very common reason for reports to be sent back is that the person who submits the report isn't writing about their own activity or their own responsibility. They're talking about what their organisation did. It's not the organisation who's applying for chartered engineer, it's yourself. So you try and get every sentence into the first person or just relate it back to yourself. That's a screen grab of the summary of career details. So you're given a table, and this isn't restricted by a word count, and this is a snapshot of your career since you graduated. So that's important. You keep hearing me say since you graduated. You're only to describe or refer to experience post-graduation date. In theory, you don't have the engineering principles to work as a chartered engineer until you graduate from that degree or that master's. So you're only supposed to include experience from your graduation date. This summary career table gives you a nice opportunity to just talk about bullet points, what you've been doing and certain responsibilities, and what company you were working in and what title or position you held. But it's not restricted by a word count, so it's a nice one just to take advantage of. Then you're also asked for your CPD. So we'll ask for, in a table format, your CPD for your last 2 years prior to submitting your report. And this is you showing how you have continued your professional development, so how you've maintained your knowledge or expanded your knowledge, whether that's through formal training or informal training or looking at the engineer's TV. You outline that and show how you've met 5 days per year for the last 2 years. If you're stuck on what counts as CPD, I'd always suggest just get in touch with us. The membership team would be happy to help. There's some lovely information available on our website as what counts as CPD. We can run workshops within organisations and talk to you what counts as CPD. So just keep in touch with us about that. We also look for your future development statements. So what are your CPD plans, your continuous professional development plans in the short term, medium and long term? So I really want to become a chartered engineer. Here's how I'm going to do it and why it's important. I want to become a practiced public speaker or negotiator, or dealing with expanding my client relationships or client presentations, and here's how I'm going to do that. So just show how you're going to continue your professional development. So CPD is recognizing that your knowledge does not stay still, that you're always moving with your knowledge and looking for opportunities to develop it. And how you do that is up to you. It's self-evaluated. Okay. We then have our topic essays. So you've submitted your CPD, now you have your 2 topic essays. So they're 500 words each. For the deadlines, so the topics are available to download on our website, and they change for every deadline. The purpose of these topic essays is to give you the opportunity to articulate your professional opinion. So you're showing your communication skills. So your ability to write a 500-word essay and give your opinion in that essay, and then also when you go in for interview, to articulate and debate and discuss that opinion that you've represented in your essay. So the essays, they're only 500 words each. For the first topic essay, it's an engineering topic of your choice. And the second topic essay, you choose from a list that we've provided. And it's important just to note that we give you those topics, and they change at every deadline. The one thing that we're looking for, so when your report comes in and when we start reviewing these essays over the deadlines, we'll look for your opinion. If we can't see in these essays that you have articulated a professional opinion, your report will be sent back. Okay, so just be careful with that. Just even look at your wording. Your supporters, so you need to have 2 chartered engineers to support your work. So these are 2 chartered engineers, chartered either with Engineers Ireland or another professional body that we have an agreement in place with. They're familiar with your formation, so they know who you are. They've worked alongside you for a period of time over your career. Generally, it's hard to find somebody who knows your entire career. It's more somebody who just has confidence in your ability and knows your ability as an engineer. What they're asked to do is read through your report. So you upload your report to our online application system, and an electronic copy of your report is sent through to the supporters. They fill in an online form and electronically support that report on our online application system. What most people will do in preparation for the deadline, they'll get in touch with their supporter and say, I plan to give this report to you in a hard copy the first week in January. Will you be ready to review it? And then I plan to upload this report, and you'll get an electronic copy of it from Engineers Ireland, from the online application, on the Friday at the deadline at 12 o'clock. So just make sure that you give them a heads up and let them know that that report is coming through. Timetable for processing your applications. So there's 2 deadlines, the last Friday in January and the last Friday in June. What's happening at the moment, so for the most recent deadline, which was the last Friday in June, we're lining up assessments. So we have assessors review reports and make sure that before calling an individual for interview, that you've demonstrated in your report that you meet the competencies and that you should be called for interview. So it is possible at this first stage, at your initial assessment, your report might be sent back and you'll be told to resubmit at the next deadline. And you will always be given feedback as to what happened, why your report has been sent back, and what deficit you need to make up. And then your interview, so if you get through that initial assessment, you'll be told around about when your interview is going to be held. They are generally held all year round. We aim to have them closed off by the next deadline. So if you submit for the last Friday in January, we'll aim to have your interview completed within the last Friday in June. And again, if you fail at this stage, at the interview stage, we will give you as much feedback as possible. And there are appeals processes as well. And you'll receive notifications usually within 3 weeks that you've been successful or unsuccessful. The interview is based purely on what you've put into your report. So if there's something you don't want to talk about, don't put it into the report. So you can really structure this report to talk about what you want to talk about, demonstrate those competencies. The interviewers are 2 chartered engineers, similar discipline to yourself. They have to be confident and competent that they can interview you fairly. There are video links available, so if you're not available to attend an interview in Ireland, just make sure you let us know. You will be asked to bring along your photo ID, and when you go in, you'll be given a 10-minute introduction, so uninterrupted, or we call it the presentation, and you can give an overview of your career, or how you feel you meet the competencies, what you've been working on since you submitted the report. That's up to yourself what you do in those 10 minutes. Some people have started bringing in laptops and tablets. Again, that's up to yourself for those 10 minutes, how you want to prepare, what sort of props you want to bring in that will assist you with the 10 minutes. Most important thing then to note is that the interviewers are bound by confidentiality, so you don't need to worry about the content. And there may be a 3rd or 4th person in the room depending on your interview panel, and that's really just to make sure that our interviewers are doing everything according to the regulations. We do then also, as I mentioned, we have a Chartered Engineer of the Year award. So if you do very, very well, you will be put forward for a Chartered Engineer of the Year. And this is just recognition that you did very, very well in the process. And you'll receive a crystal trophy and a certificate. The next deadline then is the 29th of January. So a lot of time now to get prepared, but what we'd suggest at this stage is, if there are a number of you in your organisation that are interested in applying, get in touch with us, and a member of our membership team will come out and meet with you and your peers and talk to you about the content of the reports. And basically we're there to try and get you through to the deadline. We also will be holding a number of these sessions here online over the next few months, and then also here in Clyde Road, so in our lecture theatre. So how are we doing for time? We're now just coming up to 10 to. I'll hold on now for another 5 minutes and see if there's any questions. So that's the email that you can email me if you have any questions. This will be available. You can email me in the next 5 minutes or so to submit questions. If not, you can email membership@engineersireland.ie and somebody from our team will be able to follow up with you. So I hope that was useful. Also, so this is one of the first lunchtime seminars or webcasts that we've done. If there are particular topics that you'd like to see covered, please do just let us know. Again, email the membership team. We'd be happy to put together some sort of a session. We've tried running a number of these events in the morning and in the evening, so we're thinking that maybe the lunchtime we might be able to get a better reach. So you just let us know if there's a particular topic you'd like us to cover, and we'll do our best to accommodate. So no questions coming in. A lot of people ask at this stage, what's the pass rate for a chartered engineer? There is a high pass rate, and you usually see it's about an 88 to 92% pass rate. And that isn't a reflection on the how hard or how difficult the process is. I think it's more that when people do submit these reports, they're at a very high standard. So when we're meeting with people and looking at these reports for chartered, most people have spent a lot of time on the reports, and also you need to get support from maybe your boss, your director, and so you've usually presented them at a high standard. They are representative of your competencies. So most people are fairly confident and happy with the content when they submit it. So there is generally a good pass rate. If you do decide, another common question, I'm just waiting to see if there's any questions coming through, but if you do decide, so if you fail and you do decide to reapply, when you resubmit, your next panel of interviewers or assessors won't know that you had previously submitted a report, so you don't need to worry about that. And you will be given quite a bit of feedback if your report is sent back, so you'll be told what happened where you fell down. Okay, I think we'll leave it at that. I hope that was useful, guys. So my name is Evelyn and I'm in the membership team, so keep in touch, and we'll line up a few more of these sessions as well. So thank you.